Not all meals are created equal. For instance, breakfast has the spicy egg McMuffin for a limited time, and lunch doesn't. McDonald's breakfast comes first. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Gatorade is the #1 proven electrolyte blend designed to hydrate better than water. So you can lose more sweat and raise your game. Gatorade, is it in you?
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, how to get 30, how to get 20, 20, 20, how to get 20, 20, how to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold!
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
Welcome to 1865, the Nottingham Forest podcast, and for this episode we're joined by the man who was Forest's undisputed #1 for most of the 90s, making over 300 Forest appearances. It's Big Norm, Mark Crossley. Welcome.
How you doing, lads? You okay?
Yeah, all good, thank you.
Great.
All good.
We'll start at the very top then with your early Forest career and how you ended up signing for Forest. What was your early years in football like, and how did you end up where you did?
Yeah, basically, my dad formed a junior football team local to where I live, up in Barnsley. Started at under 10s called Oil and Common Falcons, and then we were quite successful in the Sheffield and district area as a team. And then at 16 years old, I got trials at Watford, got homesick, didn't like it, came back. Knocked on my mum and dad's door, and my dad says, "What are you doing?" I says, I can't do it. I don't want to be there. I'm homesick." And he went, "Well, you better find somewhere else to live then, because you ain't wasting that opportunity." And that's what it was like back then. You better go and live with your grandma for a while. Anyway, luckily I got playing local football. That wasn't the case. My dad wasn't that cruel. He was cruel, but he wasn't that cruel. He understood in the end. And then I got playing for a really successful local football team called Oil and Town Jags, which again in the Sheffield, but that was a men's team. So the best education I had, because I played centre half till I was 15, and then the goalkeeper got injured playing local football. I went in goal, and because I was the biggest and the slowest, I got put in there, and ever since that day I never moved. So at 16 I played men's football because I'd always been a big lad anyway, and did pretty well. Got to a couple of cup finals and started getting scouted. Got scouted by Watford, got homesick, come back, went back to college, playing local football, and then within no time, Forest came knocking on the door to take over my apprenticeship that I was doing. Well, YTS it was then at Watford. So I ended up finishing my YTS at Forest.
And what was it like meeting the legend Brian Clough for the first time?
Well, the first time I met him, I was playing for a team called Forest Colts, which was like a kind of feeder team for the apprenticeships. Because I'd started my apprenticeship at Watford, and there was some complications getting it through. And the first time I met it, I mean, everybody remembers he used to have long curly hair and the big goatee beard and all that. Thought I was cool. I wasn't when I look back, but you know. And the first time I met him, we played at Dunkirk. Again, men's football, best education ever for young lads was playing against tough men. And he was there watching. First team were at home in the afternoon. We were playing in the morning. He came and watched, and he pulled me after the game. And he said, "Son, if you want to play football for me, I suggest you get your hair cut." So that was my first meeting with him. So the next day I went and got short back and sides. And within no time, I started my apprenticeship. And then everybody knows what happened the year after. I made my debut against Liverpool. So in such a short space of time, from signing for Forest, I was soon playing against Liverpool in the first team at 19 years old.
Yeah, and how that come about was obviously Steve Sutton, and was it Paul Crichton who was, and obviously he didn't put any pressure on, so he didn't tell you in the day. This is where he was brilliant as a manager, isn't it? Because like
Steve Sutton had gone. It was a night game, and he'd gone down with a virus during the day. So he couldn't play. And Anne Seegers, I think, was on loan at Wimbledon at the time. I think Paul Crichton was injured. Darren Hayes, he was either injured or wasn't going to play anyway. So I was fifth choice at the time. So it was just amazing that you can be a fifth choice goalkeeper. And he'd rung my dad in the day saying to come down to the game, but not to tell me. Oh, there's Roxy. Sorry about that.
Sorry. That's all right.
Yeah, so he rang me during the day, telling my dad not to tell me, because if I did, I'd shit myself. And I was given the job as playing against Liverpool, but he didn't tell me till 7:00, and the kickoff wasn't till 7:30. So he didn't tell me till 7:00 that I was actually playing in the game. Which again, brilliant man management, really, when you think about it.
Yeah, because you basically just went out to warm up, and obviously Brian Rice was at the time
right,
volleying balls at you and everything, and then you played a few games. Did you play against Newcastle?
Played Newcastle away.
Yeah, and Coventry.
1-0, and then it was Coventry won it FA Cup. We beat them, and then we all know what happened after that. It was time for this young man who'd done so well in his first 3 games to come out of the team, because Steve Sutton was back in full fitness then. And that's when he made me play for Simon's team, AC Hunters, the next day after Coventry. He made me play for their team. I think it was Division 5, Derbyshire Sunday League. And he made me play. And the long story is that the team got fined a record fine of £50 for playing a ringer. And Cloughie took the £50 out of my wages to pay the fine.
Genius, absolutely genius.
So how to keep someone's feet on the floor, eh?
Yeah,
I couldn't even £50.
Yeah, and he didn't do that just to you. He did it to Trevor Francis back in the day. He signed him for £1 million, and then told him to make the tee for the reserve team and everything, so nobody gets above that level. It's brilliant man management. So
I think it's all about when you look back. It was all about how much he could trust you. Obviously, you know the story about me signing the blank contract as well. And he gives you 5 minutes to sign it, and it's all a plan. It's all about trust. If you trust me, I'll trust you. And after that, I could do no wrong. So it was all them things that you didn't realise at the time. It was a psychologist within a psychologist, and I don't know whether he realised it was doing it. I mean, people get fortunes to do these jobs at football clubs now, and he just had everything all in one. And I'll be honest, back in the 90s there and early days, it wasn't about what you was getting paid. It was about playing football for Brian Clough and the story, you know.
You get into the team properly in the 1990-91 season. That's when you become the first choice. And that's the season when Forest have the run to the FA Cup final. And in the final itself, you saved the penalty from Gary Lineker. Mm-hmm. But what's your memories of that cup run and the final itself and how everything panned out?
Well, the cup run, we absolutely, I think we breezed through to the final. I think apart from the Palace game leading up to it, where we had a few replays, I know we comfortably won the semi-final. And it just seemed like it was such a comfortable run through to the final. And then, obviously, I think we were the best team in the final. I've watched it back loads. I think we're the best team. I think, Paul Gascoigne should have probably been sent off. Not that you want a player to get sent off anyway. But I think these days that would have been the case. And then the cup final became all about Paul Gascoigne. And we know that he got his injury, and we felt sorry for him getting his injury, but it was just on such a high that day. It was all about him, and but I think my penalty save, people forget it simply because we ended up on the losing side. So you can be in the record books for saving a penalty in an FA Cup final, but because you ended up on the losing side, people forget it. The Liverpool one where Dave Besant saved it, everybody remembers it.
Yeah,
and then there was obviously one more Petr Cech as well that. For Chelsea against, I think, Portsmouth it was. So they're the only 3. It's nice to be in the record books, but not for the wrong reasons.
And on a bit of a down now, unfortunately, we'll get to the 92-93 season. How difficult was it for possibly you, for you lost your place in the side, didn't you? Then obviously sadly, Brian Clough, he retired from the game and everything. It must have been a really, really hard season for everybody associated with Forest at the time.
It was a tough season, yeah. I mean, we started obviously with a win against Liverpool, the first televised game that season, and things looked promising. And then I think there were rumours, obviously, about Teddy Sheringham leaving and all sorts of things happening behind the scenes. And I scored the Premier League's first ever own goal that season as well, which keeps me going on the after-dinner circuit anyway. But yeah, it just turned up a bad season, and the gaffer deteriorated, his health deteriorated. And it went from bad to worse. So yeah, it was a season to forget, really. But luckily, we bounced back straight away.
Let's go back to the summer of 1993. So Brian Clough has stepped down as manager after Forest's relegation from the Premier League. He's replaced by Frank Clark. What was he like to work for, and how different was Frank to Brian in terms of pre-season preparation and getting the team ready?
Yeah, well, Frank, certainly first thing he did, he introduced a fitness coach, thought the team could be a lot fitter, and to get out the Championship at the first attempt, he knew that we had to be a really, really fit team. We employed a guy called Pete Edwards, I think, that year, who came in, and we went through a tough pre-season. I think we went to Italy, actually, pre-season, if I remember rightly. Did very well pre-season, and I don't think we particularly started that great that season, but then when we hit the form, I just remember, and Frank was really placid. He was a quiet man. No shouting and bawling. It was all tactical and tactical on the training ground. Whereas with Brian Clough, it was more about man management style. And Frank introduced more coaching into the preparation, and it just made unbelievable signings as well. You know, the signings that are made were just, I don't recall too many bad ones that Frank made, and we absolutely ended up breezing back into the Premier League at the first attempt.
Yeah, because the squad before the season probably looked a bit lighter because Nigel Clough had left, Roy Keane had left as well. Yeah. Was it clear right away that those replacements like Stan Collymore, Lars Bohinen were the real deal? Was that obvious straight away?
It was, yeah. I mean, it just took a little bit of time for them to gel in and get in, because if I am right, we didn't start that season greatly. But then once everybody had done all their work in the preparation on the training ground, and we got our first win under the belt, then it was just plain sailing from there, really. We didn't have too many bad results that season.
So as you mentioned about that patchy start at the start of the 93-94 season, we soon kicked into gear and started moving rapidly up the table. Promotion was achieved following a 3-2 away win at Peterborough. What was it like going up at first time Vasking? Because obviously the squad still had like Stuart Pearce there, yourself, Steve Chettle. I bet there was a bit of a pressure that season to go straight back up.
Yeah, there was pressure. We were favourites. Like, we were favourites to go, back up to the Premier League, and rightly so, because we were one of those teams that everybody thought that were too good to go down, and that wasn't the case. We got relegated. But I remember that day at Peterborough. That was probably one of the best days I've ever been involved in football, because the fans, I can remember them being up the floodlights on the stands, on the all over the place. And did we go 2-0 down or 2-1 down? And then I think I got an assist for Stan, long kick downfield, and and he stuck. I think Piercy and Stan get 2. Was it that day?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. I mean, I've still got a picture now upstairs at the side of my bed of that squad that actually won that day, and the photographs in the dressing room after. So I mean, we had a feeling at Christmas time that we were going back up anyway. We were very, very confident that we were on the move, and nothing was going to stop us. Especially with Mr. Collymore banging the goals, and he was something else.
He was on fire that season, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. As we prepared to return to the Premier League in the summer of 94, Brian Roy, the Dutch international, was our only notable signing from Foggia. But what were the main expectations for the team coming back up? Did you have any expectations, or Did you just want to see how things go?
Survival, yeah. I think, and even back then, coming back from the Championship into the Premier League, just like Forest have done now, really. They're now established now as a Premier League club again, which is great to see. So our aim was to get back into the Premier League and be a sustainable Premier League team. We didn't expect that what happened that season, but we got off to a flyer, and things were looking good, and we were right in it to the end. But I know when we signed Brian Roy, it was like, wow, we are back in the big time. We've just signed somebody that's played in the World Cup, and hey, and what a player he was as well. And I think the good thing was that Brian hit it off right away with Stan, which was, they not only became good friends, but they come in a formidable partnership on the pitch as well.
In the first half of the season, we really hit the ground running. Impressive wins up at home against Sheffield Wednesday, away at Spurs, plus a 2-1 win, and Man United just before Christmas. I bet it was a joy to be playing behind the likes of Colin Moore, Roy and Bohinen during that season.
Yeah, and I think had we signed Colin Cooper as well. Colin Cooper was a great player. He was one of these underrated. I always thought Steve Chettle was an underrated player anyway. Only for the fact that he played at the side of Des Walker all the years, that he never got the credit he deserved. So Desi Little was a fullback who was doing really, really well. So we had good underrated players, but we knew how, and we worked so well for each other. We were a good team, There's no doubt about it. We had good wingers as well, the Wonies, and we had a good team.
Yeah, it was a really balanced side. Everybody just played in their preferred position. And obviously when you have that consistency, obviously you're going to get success with it as well, aren't you, especially the talent in the squad.
I look at the 7-1 win at Sheffield Wednesday, remember that game, and if you see some of the football played in that game, that season, that was a sign of a proper Nottingham Forest team that play football, which we've always been renowned for. And we did it in the Premier League that year. I remember it's probably my favourite ever season, to be honest. And to finish third that season in the Premier League, totally against all the odds and unexpectedly. I think there were only us really believed that we could do it deep down. The lads in the dressing room, the manager. We believed once we got on a roll that we were pretty unstoppable at home as well. There's not many teams came and beat us.
Yeah, and I think it's quite telling in that Sheffield Wednesday game when you've got the home fans at Hillsborough applauding Forest as the goals are going in and applauding the team off the pitch. Just shows how good they were that day.
I got bored, I had the fans behind me second half and they were singing Norm, Norm, and what's the score? And I honestly forgot what the score was at one stage because it just, I got pretty bored. I was quite happy to let one in the end. I felt sorry for them, But joking aside, that was a sign of a proper team, yeah.
Did you feel that Europe was on the cards throughout that season, or were you just more focused on just seeing where you can finish in the league?
Just focus on finish as high as you can, and then, because I think, obviously, only the top two, I think, qualified for the European Cup, and then it was UEFA Cup. Otherwise, because we were third, we would have been in the Champions League, so it's called now. But it was more like, let's just finish as high as we can and see where it takes us. And we were quite relaxed about it in the end, I mean, we were right in it. From what I remember, we were right in it, and teams didn't like coming and playing against us. I watched some of the interviews, some of the top managers saying these are a very, very good team, and it's going to be a very, very difficult game, and it always was for them. All the top teams never liked playing us.
Especially with Stan Collymore up top. I mean, he had absolutely everything as a striker, and no defender likes somebody like that running at them kind of thing. But he was just phenomenal for those 2 seasons we had him at. We're probably very fortunate that we actually saw him in the flesh.
Well, that's what Frank used to say before the game. Just give the ball to Stan. And he used to play in that little cheating position on the left-hand side like Thierry Henry did for Arsenal. And we used to get the ball. We were a brilliant counter-attacking team. But the quicker we could get the ball to Stan, things started to happen. And it really was a case of when we can get the ball to him, get it to him.
So in that season, we finish third in the league eventually and qualify for the UEFA Cup. What was the feeling like among the squad once they'd achieved European football? And from your point of view, is that the pinnacle of your playing career?
I think so. I mean, when people say, what do you remember about your time at Forest? It was that following season when we went to like Malmo, Auxerre, Olympique Lyon, and then Bayern Munich, which I think we probably overachieved with the squad that we got. We were playing against World Cup stars in every game, and the French teams were really good teams. Bayern Munich were a little bit too much, but even when we went away there, we gave a good account of ourselves, and then I made a mistake in the return leg for the first goal, and it was game over. So, because we were chasing the game. But I remember the first half hour of that game, we absolutely pummeled and just couldn't score. So it could have been a different story, but again, that we went into that season, we kept 5 clean sheets in the first 6 games. We only conceded against Malmo in the first game, and then we kept 5 clean sheets then on the trot. So all of a sudden you start to think, we're as good as these. Let's just see where it takes us again. I think that was the attitude, really. Yeah. And Frank liked to play with 2 holding midfield players. Remember, Chrissy Bart-Williams came in then.
Yeah.
And David Phillips was there, and we decided that because we were such a good counter-attacking team, we played with 2 sitting midfield players. That's how we feel we can win games. So I think the 94-95 season was a great basis to take us on into Europe and give us the belief that we had when we actually got into Europe.
At Sierra, you'll always find apparel, footwear, and gear for 20 to 60% less than department and specialty store prices. But right now, it's clearance time, so you can save even more on everything you need to get active and outside. Visit your local Sierra store today.
You're listening to 1865, the Nottingham Forest podcast.
Just at the back end of that era, for a 4 or 5 year period, you was obviously undisputed number 1 at Forest and playing really well in the Premier League. Wasn't England call-up ever on the cards, maybe as a third-choice keeper behind Seaman and Flowers? Terry Venables was calling up many players in preparation for Euro 96, in which England didn't have to qualify. Were you ever in the conversation of playing?
I had a conversation. Stuart Pearce had a conversation with me, saying he was thinking about bringing me into a training camp to have a look. That never materialised, and I don't know the reason why. I was at an age 25, 26 years old where I thought, well, I can't be playing any better. I'm now a very experienced keeper in the league, and it just never came along. And then the realisation that when you start getting phone calls from Scotland managers and Welsh managers, you start getting the phone calls. That training camp never happened. I just found it too difficult a decision to turn down playing international football. Because I just felt that if I wasn't going to get called into a training camp while I was playing really well, when are you going to get called in?
Yeah.
You've got obviously David Seaman, top class. You've got Tim Flowers, Nigel Martin, David James, Ian Walker. Was I as good as them? I thought so. Yeah. Seaman was up there at the top playing for the Invincibles. But the others, I thought I could compete at the time, but never got the look in. So I had to make a decision, and I didn't take the decision lightly. I just wanted to play international football, and I got the opportunity to do it. So I made the decision to take it.
Just moving on now to the 96-97 season, and it is a much tougher season for everybody associated with Forest, and Frank Clark leaves halfway through with the team struggling in the bottom half of the Premier League. What happened that season? Was there anything that particularly changed or, was very different from the 2 seasons that had come before it?
Well, we lost some of our best players. Stan left. Colin Cooper left. Am I right there? Am I getting that right? Because we're talking about 30 years ago here.
Yeah.
I think Cooper was still there. It brought Nicola Jurkan in after Euro 96. I think it was Cooper and Jurkan were playing.
Well, he was probably the first signing that didn't work out, wasn't he? Salensi didn't work out. So all of a sudden you make a few signings that don't work out and you lose a few of your better players, then you're simply going to be up against it. I knew the club was struggling financially as well. I don't know the reasons behind it, but because I remembered Leeds United making an approach for myself to try and sign me, and I made the decision to stay in the end, which was my decision. But Forest were quite happy to take the £2 million that were being talked about from Leeds for me to go as well. So they said go and speak to them, because the club could do with the money, but we didn't really want to lose you either. So it was my decision in the end. I decided to stay. So the club were in trouble financially, there's no doubt about that. And that's what happens at a football club. You lose a few of your best players. You can't replace them with the quality of player that's already gone. And did Lars go to Blackburn that season as well?
Yeah, I think it was like in the 95-96 season, but he'd already obviously gone by then, so obviously he left a massive hole in midfield.
I'm just trying to recall what actually happened when why it was so, and I just remembered Frank coming in the dressing room one day, and it's the first time I've ever seen a manager in tears that is having to leave a football club, because I think it was really underestimated what he actually achieved, and I think he left because he just felt as though he couldn't do any more, and rightly so. I think we didn't win for 16 games or something like that.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, I think that's underrated what Frank did. Because if you look at Alex Ferguson when he left Man United, nobody's really got it going, have they, at Man United? And Frank comes in after Brian Clough, and he gets us promoted, third place in the Premier League, then ninth in the Premier League, UEFA Cup football. And like you say, it's very underestimated the job he did in that 3 to 4 year period.
Don't get me started on the manager's longevity. It drives me mad. Listen, who's the managers that have had longevity? Who are they? Brian Clough, Alex Ferguson, Arsene Wenger.
Yeah, and the board had success.
Why have they all? Why? Well, there you go. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Don't get me started on this lose 4 games and the job's under threat, because the game's gone for me in that respect. So I a manager has to come in. He needs minimum 3 years to put his stall and get his players in. But now you've got things like the managers don't sign the players. They're not called a manager. They're called an head coach. The club signs the players. You coach them. What a load of nonsense! Honestly, it really frustrates the life out of me.
Then it's always the manager who gets the blame for those players not performing, and he's not the one who's. I know what he's saying.
Yeah.
So
anyway.
As we go into the 97-98 season, I think he was injured for the majority of it. It was a back injury. So Dave Besant comes in, another keeper who saved a penalty in the FA Cup final. I bet that was another difficult season for yourself, and just not playing.
I thought my career was finished, to be fair. And that's why I didn't get many caps for Wales either as well, because I played from such a young age, and you have to think as a keeper, you're probably diving up and down on the ground 200 times a day, every day in training. And it was just wear and tear on my back. I got an hernia operation as well that I needed. So things had just caught up from that point of view. And I couldn't get fit. Luckily, and I'll be honest, I'd signed a new 4-year contract at the club. So I was in no rush to get back. I wanted to take my time, and it ended up being a year. Just over. Dave Besant had come in, done really well under Harry. Well, I liked Harry Bassett. He looked after me. He brought in Marco Pascolo. That didn't work. And then it was a matter of trying to get back fit and get back in the team. By which time, team had got promoted again, back to the Prem. So Harry Bassett did a good job as well. But yeah, it was an horrible time. I thought my career was finished. I didn't see any way back from this back injury that I had, and I didn't want to be operated on. I wanted to try and. I went to so many hospitals and so much advice, and I didn't know who to believe. I didn't know what to do, so I just took the time out and tried to recover. I went to meet this rowing coach who was a back specialist, and she got me back fit. So I spent a lot more time away from the city ground than I did at it. trying to get fit with this rowing coach, which she got me back in the end. Yeah.
And then the following season, 98-99, like you say, Forest are back in the Premier League. You are recalled to the team, but it's not by Dave Bassett, it's by Ron Atkinson when he comes in as manager. We've got it here that you made 3 penalty saves back end of that season. So Charlton away, Sheffield Wednesday at home, and Blackburn away.
Right.
In the I think that might have been the final away game of the season. But what was it like playing under Big Ron? What was he like as a character and as a manager?
Well, I liked him because he brought me back into the team. So I think our first game we drew Charlton away 0-0, and I came away with man of the match that day. So I just thanked him for putting me back in the team. Bess had not done anything wrong, to be honest. It was just the team was struggling, and he wanted to make changes, and we all, we didn't quite do it. We didn't quite do it, but form got a little bit better and kept a few clean sheets. But I liked Ron. I didn't think it was a bad decision bringing him because the club was flat, and if anybody's going to lift a club with his charisma, it'd be Ron Atkinson. But he fell out with Pierre, and that was always in the limelight. Him and Pierre falling out all the time because Pierre wasn't having him and Ron wasn't having Pierre. So once things like that start to happen on a training ground, you're doomed as a club. You can't have your best players and the manager falling out. And I'm not blaming them. It's just that's the case. Once that happens, once that sets in, then it's a poison that you can't get away.
Yeah, because as fans, I think it's safe to say that we've, no disrespect to the rest of the players, we've probably relegated before a ball was even kicked, with Pierre having his hissy fit and refusing to come back for 3 months. And I think the writing was on the wall because obviously, I think at the time there was I think it just been taken over, and then obviously you had the chairman selling sort of Kev Campbell and Colin Cooper. So we was basically uphill struggle before any ball was even kicked. It was just an horrible
season from the beginning. Dave Bassett fell out with Pierre as well because obviously he went on strike. He didn't agree with it. Neither did I. You get paid to play football. Play football. I don't care what gentleman's agreement you've got. Like if you're selling your best players, but it's not nice. But get on with it.
Yeah,
he was our best player.
Yeah, you just get down to play football and work your move, don't you? At the end of the day,
just get on with it.
Think about you. Yeah,
just get on with it. I'm old school though. I mean, maybe I'm thinking wrongly, but I didn't get it. I honestly, and look what happened. It just got worse and worse and worse. Yeah. And it was inevitable in the end that I think the club floated on the stock market as well, didn't they? And
that was a disaster in itself.
And that was a disaster. So, although as players you don't really see that, so that's not an excuse. But again, I mentioned before, your best players go, and your next best player then goes on strike, you've no chance.
The spirit of innovation is deeply ingrained in America, and Google is helping Americans innovate in ways both big and small. From improving emergency response times to protecting against cyber attacks, local, state, and federal governments are innovating with Google AI. This is a new era of American innovation. Find out more at g.co/American Innovation.
You're listening to 1865, the Nottingham Forest podcast.
So Forest end up relegated back in Division 1 for 99-2000. The club decided to bring David Platt in as player manager. And it is during this season that you end up leaving Forest. How did all that happen, and what was your relationship like with David Platt?
We just didn't see eye to eye with each other, and I don't particularly know why. He pulled me and Dave Besant at the start of the season, and he said that I was going to start the season, and he'd make a judgment halfway through whether I was going to stay in the team or not. Then I read things in the paper that it's time to get rid of the dead wood, which meant me, Ian Woan, Steve Chettle were needed to. All things that you read that I've always been. That's the case. The manager get you in, sit you down, say, look, I'm going to go in a different direction, shake hands, and then And then I get told that I got offered a contract to make me the highest paid player at the club. Biggest load of rubbish ever. But I'm reading these things in the newspaper. And then I get handed a letter from the assistant manager saying the contract offer has been withdrawn. I didn't even know there was a contract there on the table. So I didn't get it. And we just fell out. I weren't having him at all. And he weren't having me. So we fell out, and I was gutted because I had to leave the club I'd been at for 12 years.
Yeah, it was a sad end for you. But do you think, with David Platt being a young manager, his first real managerial job, and he didn't want to be undermined by like the senior players, so he wanted to do it his way, kind of thing? Do you think it's just a complete lack of man management?
Yeah, but I think if he would have sat us down and asked us for our help, what's this football club all about? Because we know what are the fans about. You know, do we embrace the Brian Clough years and try and carry that on? Yes, of course you do. It's Brian Clough's club, and it'll never be any different. Frank Clark didn't do any different. You know, He just carried it on. And unfortunately for David, he just made decisions where, you know, 3 Italian signings about a week before the season. I'm sorry, it's not happening. But he wanted to make a fresh start. He's the young manager. He's the new manager. He wanted to put his own stamp on the situation, and it just went all totally wrong for him.
So to finish off, you get a chance to be a Premier League player again. I think you join Brian Robson up at Middlesbrough. I bet that was brilliant because they were like buying all like the foreign players like Alan Boksic and players like that. So I bet that was a great opportunity for you to play up in Middlesbrough.
Yeah, I was. There was another opportunity to join Leeds again. That didn't happen. And then there was an opportunity to go to Scotland, which I quite fancied. Alex McLeish was desperate for me to go to Hibs. And then just at the last minute, I get a phone call from Brian Robson saying, we'd like you to come to Middlesbrough. You won't come as number 1, you'll come as number 2. But if you get in, that's up to you. If you perform well, you'll stay in. That came about. I got in the team, did really well, kept 11 clean sheets in 23 games. And by this time, Steve McLaren was manager, and he decided that I wasn't to play even no matter how many clean sheets I played. So I had to leave the club. I had 3 great years there, but didn't play enough games. But I went more to Middlesbrough. I was 30 years old. I wanted to secure my family. So I went more for finances and I went as a number 2, which I probably kind of regret, really. I should have kept on playing as long, you know. And then I made the same decision again and went to Fulham and did the same again. But I was working with Edwin van der Sar there, so...
Yeah, he was one of my... growing up, I thought he was a fantastic, like, world-class goalkeeper. And obviously, he's near enough won everything in the game, apart from anything for Holland. But he must have been a pleasure to work with. And he just comes across as like a really good footballing, like, head-down coaching, really good education for you, even
well,
at that age.
Believe it or not, Dave Besant was our coach at Fulham then. Chris Coleman signed me, who I knew from Wales. So that was an attraction because I knew Chris. And he did say to me that Edwin wouldn't be at Fulham very long because everybody wants to sign him. And as soon as he gets signed, then you're in. And that happened. And then I got injured again. So at least Chris was true to his word that when Edwin left. But yeah, to work with, he was probably the best that I've worked with. And he was a lovely fella as well. And he was one, although he was as good as what he was one that always asked for help as well. So I think I was a year older than Edwin, and I said to him, you don't talk enough to your back four. You just rely on your ability. And he started to talk more, and he said, thanks for that advice. So he was that type of guy. Yeah. Although he was world class, he was still always...
Yeah. I think with Edwin van der Sar, the mould with him, he's like probably the first modern goalkeeper playing it out back, because I think he was really good with his feet and everything. And obviously he's played until he was 40 and won a Champions League at Man United. And yeah, just a phenomenal goalkeeper. So so obviously you leave Fulham and you join Alderman Chesterfield, and you move into the coaching world. Mm-hmm. How was that, like, transitioning from playing to coaching?
Well, because I was working with people that I know, it was quite easy, and I'd done all my badges. So I spent 8 years getting up to being a pro licensed coach because I fancied having a crack at management. But then when I did it as a caretaker, I didn't like it. I I liked coaching the goalies on the training ground, but all the other stuff that goes with it, like really early unnecessary starts and really late finishes, I can't say that I really enjoyed it. Like, you know, I'm a big believer that the longer that you sit there and you talk about things, you create problems. You know, if your job's done for the day, your job's done for the day. And I don't know. I was lucky because I was enjoying after dinner speaking, and that was my career path. And I think it suits my personality. So I had 9 years in the coaching game, but if I'm honest, it probably wasn't for me.
And just finally, before we wrap up, just tell us about the time that you scored for Sheffield Wednesday, your one professional goal.
Yeah, it was a bit of an unreal feeling, really. We were 3-2 down, Southampton at home at Hillsborough, and 1 minute to go and we get a corner. And Brian Laws was the manager, who obviously I played with. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to have a go here. I'm going to see if I can get on the end of this corner. So I'd already made my way a little bit, and he was telling me to get back because he said that if I didn't score, I would never get back anyway. So
good job you did.
So I just Chris Brunt was the corner taker, and I knew what a great left foot he had, and I just thought, yeah, come on, let's have a go. Put it on the 6-yard box, and I'll see if I can get there. I didn't realise Gareth Bale was going to be marking me from the corner, but I did say to him, "Watch out, there's a train coming," and I managed to get above him and head it in. So it was a bit an unreal feeling. It really was. Yeah, so I've had a few things happen. First Premier League own goal, penalty saving record, and scoring a goal. So I can't complain, really.
Yeah, talking about your penalty record, I mean, I've been inside a stadium where you've saved a few penalties, and then you saved the 3 penalties at White Hart Lane in the FA Cup in '96. And obviously the only person to save a Matt Letizia penalty.
Yeah,
I bet you never get bored of that record, would you?
You don't really, but you don't realise until your career's finished. So, like Matt Letizia was only on 20 penalties at the time. He'd scored 20. I was the next one, and then he went on to score another 27. So I didn't realise at the time. Me and Matt have a bit of banter about it. He usually texts me on that day. It's some day in October. He usually texts me telling me that how much he hates this day in the calendar year. We have banter. We play golf together, so that's nice. He sent me a picture that from the old Dell is now an housing estate, and that end is called Crossley Place, and that he never walks past it, and all this. So
superstitious.
It's all in good spirits. But I think that's what we were all about in the 90s. The players respected each other and still do it today. And the penalties at White Hart Lane, I just tried to play the game, and I don't know what it was. I just had really strong instinctive thoughts when it come to facing a penalty. I don't know why, it just did. And I think that's why I had such a good penalty saving record, because I believe in my instincts.
Yeah, because you saved Teddy Sheringham's penalty in that shootout, then you saved one the season before when we beat him 4-1. He obviously got into his head from his
Don't forget,
days at
Teddy
Forest.
used to practice taking penalties against me, though. So I just don't forget, I know where you actually put them, Teddy. You know what I mean? And I got in his head, didn't I? Got in his head.
Yeah, and your celebration I love as well, where you sprint up the other end and do a clean
quite
spin.
Quick. Fitness coach had a word with me after that game, saying pre-season you were the worst runner. He says, I didn't realise you were that quick. He said, get ready next pre-season, he said.
Just finally, Mark, as well, I know because we've only got you for so long, just kind of sum up your time and your years at Forest and what it meant to you.
Yeah, I think it was a bit, sometimes I pinch myself. It's only when you look back on YouTube and scrapbooks and things like that I'm the type, I think I'm pretty humble, quite laid back. And I just think to have played for 12 years, 6 years under the greatest manager that ever lived, without a shadow of a doubt, in my eyes anyway, you have to think, how did it actually happen? And I think it comes through good junior football. I told you my best education was playing men's football at 16 years old. And then I felt when I come to Forest, you feel a little bit you're playing with all them young kids that are apprentices. And because I'd played men's football, I felt a little bit taller and bigger than them, you know, and I really started to believe that I could get there if I wanted to do a bit of hard work. And I was a bit of a rogue when I was a young one, and everybody knows that. But I think once Cloughie got a grip of me and people around me got a grip of me, that I think I kind of proved, I come through some sticky spells, I proved that how capable I actually was playing at the highest level. And without Brian Clough, I would probably never have done that. And then Frank Clark believed in me as well. And Frank Clark gave me the biggest lesson ever as well, because he signed a goalkeeper called Tommy Wright, not to replace me, but to kind of give me a kick up the backside when I needed it. And that was a brilliant thing to do. And yeah, so my time there, I'm still a supporter. I worked at the club for the last 2 years. I haven't done this season for personal reasons and family reasons, but I love going back there. I'm still a supporter. It's the first result I look for. And without Nottingham Forest, I wouldn't have had the life that I've had in football.
So are you still doing your Walking Brilliant charity?
Yeah, we are. Yeah, it's dropped off a little bit, but we're still having events, and we haven't done any challenges recently. Our chairman got a chairman of the group, a lad called Gary Marshall, is going through cancer treatment at the moment. So, but we are still going. We're still supporting children's hospices at the moment. We're trying to help out because they're in financial crisis, to be honest. And the things we raise from golf days and the small events that we have, we donate to those. But no, it's still going. It's dropped off a little bit, which we've been going 5 years now. We've raised just over 300 grand, and we've donated 230 odd of that. So there's still money in the pot, and it's still going okay, but it has slowed down a little bit.
Brilliant.
It's a great initiative, and yeah, we wish you all the very best with it.
I appreciate it.
Mark, it's been brilliant talking to you. Thanks for giving up your time to speak to us.
No problem.
Yeah, it's been great. Thank you.
Cheers, lads.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Freedom, opportunity, leadership. Each one as American as science. That's right, science. From the battlefields of our independence to the launch pads of our future, American science. Discovery funded by the federal government, driven to products by industry, and put to work across the country, has always led the nation forward. It feeds families, defends borders, cures children, puts rockets in the sky, and the world at our fingertips. And the best part, it's not done. American science is still driving more breakthroughs, more jobs, more lives saved. But right now, there's a debate whether to keep our science funded or cut it back. So let's be clear. Nothing is more American than believing and investing in a more powerful, prosperous future. Keep American science funded and keep America strong.
Paid for by United for Science.